Ron, how was the travel back, and kind of what's the schedule this week?
I thought the travel there and back went extremely well. You know, I think the way it was coordinated with our people, the NFL and NFL UK was outstanding. The people at the Wembley Hilton were more than exceptional. Virgin Atlantic was tremendous with us flying there and back. I can't say enough about it. Really can't say enough about Brian Porter and the football ops people too. They really made it seamless. You know, everybody from our training staff, equipment staff, security, media relations, they made the trip bearable, and beyond that, it made it enjoyable. And winning does do that, though.
Ron, can you take can you take us through the decision to waive Rivera this morning?
Well, again, you know, there's been a little bit of concern. I mean, you know, he's put the ball on the ground a couple of times. He's an explosive, dynamic player. We know that, but you know, the risk of potentially putting a ball on the ground when you have an opportunity to you know, get good field position. I mean, he had a good return going and could have probably gotten a few more. But putting on the ball on the ground is a little risky. He's like I said, he's an explosive, dynamic player. But you know, we gotta take care of the football better.
Do you see that as a position where someone like Brandon could start to get more opportunities? Or?
Yes, Brandon could most certainly, and we have a couple other guys that we have that have the ability. And you know, we'll see how it goes. We've got this week and next week to think about it as to what we're going to do. And back to your question, Joe, what we're going to do is we're finishing up meeting with the players. They'll go out and get a workout. We'll have meetings tomorrow, and then workout, and then they'll be excused until Monday, and then we'll go from there.
And will you make a corresponding move on Ray, or not?
Well, we have time too, since we're not practicing this week. Just working out. We'll take a look and see what's available out there in terms of replacing the position or another position.
Ron,
the guys on the roster, they've done it before that you would use. I mean, like even the starters like Curtis and those type.
There's guys that have done it before and guys that we got to look at. You know, and it can be also a job that can be shared. So we'll take a look at that. We're going to evaluate that. We've met. Marty and I have met. We've met with Chase. We met with Norv and talked about those things. Met with Eric and talked about, you know, the potential of it being another position. I mean, it could be another wide receiver, it could be another corner, it could be somebody with return skills, but we have time and we're going to look.
Ron, there's a report from last night from Adam Schefter about Cam Newton returning to practice after the bye week. Can you confirm that report?
No, I can't. You know, I mean, the problem with it is, you know, Cam has epitomized, you know, what we asked of him of being a captain. He's been there and supportive of his teammates. You know, he's been around. And when we met, you know, when we first got together and talked about this, you know, we told him, hey, we're not going to put pressure on you. You know, we're going to hold tight. We'll hold the fort down. Our guys will play. So until, you know, he's 100%, until he's ready to roll, we're not going to address it. I mean, he's done everything we've asked. And, you know, and the people have been, you know, well, how come he's not been around? He's been around. We just don't want him standing on the sideline for 4.5 hours, you know, for no reason. And that's the unfair thing about it. You know, we didn't want to take him on an 8.5-hour, 9-hour flight. So I think people need to understand that the young man's done everything we've asked. I'm trying to stay true to what I told him. I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on. And so until we have it confirmed with our doctors and stuff like that, you know, we're going to, you know, continue to do what we're doing.
Does he have to be, you say 100%, does he have to be 100% to practice, or is that to play?
Well, as we start getting into it, we'll see. And again, you know, until you know, I get word from our people, you know, from our doctors specifically and trainers, I think the thing that we need to do is stay focused on the here and now. But again, as I said, I'm not putting that kind of pressure. I'm not sure why people want to put pressure on a guy and get him out there before he's ready to play. I mean, I've gone through it. I mean, I went through it as a player back in '90. You know, actually I think it was '91. But you know, I just don't think that that's right.
Would he put any pressure on himself knowing him run?
Yeah, and that's why. That's why when we sat down, I talked to him and told him, I said, you know, Cam, you know, when it's time. And you're really the only one who knows it. So we'll go from there. And at the end of the day, guys, you know, we're focusing on the now. You know, I'd love to talk about the game we played the other day.
If I could, one more thing that hadn't really been addressed is the other thing with Cam is, I would guess, giving him some time to get his timing back with the receivers.
Right. I mean, and that's probably a big part of it too, Joe, because we'll have to see. Again, you know, what he's really done has really been just the foot rehab. And again, you know, being the injury that is, we have to make sure because – you know, he played on a Thursday night with only 4 days rest, and apparently, you he did more to it. So again, we just got to be smart.
Ron, a couple weeks ago, you said you admitted you weren't really sure where Dennis Staley was best, tackle, guard. He could do both. What have you learned about the rookie through the past 2 games?
Well, I think the one thing is it goes back to position flexibility. I mean, the young man has come out and played guard and tackle for us, and one thing that he did that we liked when we saw him coming out of college, and we found this out, was that when he went from junior college to college, 4 years at USC, they plugged him in right away, and he was their left tackle. We bring him here, and because of his size and his quickness and his athleticism, we put him at guard because it allows him to pull and move, and we saw it. But we also knew if we had to, we could play him at right tackle, right guard, or left guard. And we just know that, Max, that he has that kind of ability to play either of those positions. So we feel very fortunate to have those kind of young men, and feel very fortunate our coaches have been able to develop these kind of guys.
There was a lot made of what Shaq Barrett did in the first meeting with you guys. Going into this one, he was kept pretty quiet. I know you guys gave Dennis some help at times too, but how did you feel just about the plan that went in to try to limit his?
Well, I think the plan was excellent. I mean, I thought the things that Norv did and the way we used our different combination of players. I mean, we went from our 11 personnel, which was 3 wide receiver sets and 1 tight end, to 2 tight end sets, to 3 tight end sets, to tight end and a fullback set. I mean, we kept mixing it up, and we kept addressing who was going to help, by using different players. And by doing that, I think we mixed it up on them. They moved him from one side to the other a couple times, but we were still able to identify him. And I thought, doing some of the things with the protection towards him was really, really helpful.
Ron, a lot of your players who are, excuse me, on final year or only have 1 year on their deal seem to be really stepping up. Is this the time of year where you sit down with Marty a lot and start having these types of conversations, or do you kind of lobby for guys? Or
Well, it is most certainly a conversation that Marty and I do have, and we will have constantly throughout the year, because again, it's really about these guys doing things and exhibiting their value to us, and this is the time of year when you probably do try to see about trying to get guys done. But again, that's really a Marty question. I know he has a list. I know that he and Rob Rogers have talked about those things in terms of the salary cap implications, not just for this year, but going into next year and on. So, we have, and I know we will.
you guys were kind of coming into the season, it was kind of a notable lack of low across the league, actually, of guys who are signed past 2020.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like?
Well, it's kind of a let's see how things go. Let's see how some of these guys step up and play. And right now we've got a lot of guys that are playing well, so it's going to be an interesting conversation, I bet.
Ryan, how much of your defensive philosophy is influenced by Buddy Ryan?
Well, I think there's a good bit of it, but I also think part of it has been influenced by Jim Johnson and Lovie Smith. I mean, guys that I've been around, that I've played for and coached for. It really has. I do know that some of the things that that we've done because of Buddy, we've done because of Jim Johnson, and because of my relationship and having coached in Chicago with Lovie. I mean, the Tampa 2 system has got some really good merit to it, and we do several things out of it. So I think a lot of it has been influenced by those three. And one name that is a little bit different, a little bit foreign too, is Wade Phillips. I mean, what Wade did in San Diego, and I was able to learn and adapt and use, has really been helpful. Some of the things that we did on Sunday was right out of the Wade Phillips book. I mean, we played some of our base. We were able to play the odd front, the three down with the 4 linebackers, and we were able to do some things, and we got a couple plays out of it. A guy that seems to have been benefiting from it really well has been Vern. Watch Vernon play the 5 technique, which I bet there's some people don't think he could have, but he did, made some plays from it. And Mario's been a guy that's really taken advantage of the opportunity to stand up from a 2-point. We moved Mario from inside to outside and outside to inside. And I think those guys are really grasping the idea behind the things that we're doing that are different.
You saw as a player, when you first came into the league, what pressure on the quarterback did. I mean,
Yes.
72 sacks or something like that, 84?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that that people have to look at is it's not just about blitzing all the time, but also being able to have the type of personnel that can attack or the type of personnel that can cover. And right now, our rush and our coverage are really melding very well together. I mean, the stuff that Eric is designing as far as the pass rush is concerned, and working with Perry and and the other coaches, in terms of varying the rush with the coverage has been very beneficial. I mean, these guys are doing a great job, and as we sit down and we game plan, we talk about the things that we can do. We have ideas and we all put them together, and at the end of the day, it's just deciding what's best for us, and that's what we're doing.
Ron, you mentioned Vernon. Is he playing more freely now? He seems like he's having much more fun out there this season than maybe in years past.
He is, and I think a lot of it just shows, sometimes it's about an opportunity and feeling like you have the opportunity. And I think that's what Vern's feeling right now, is that he has the opportunity. And, being able to create a sack, fumble in consecutive plays in the same, in the same series is pretty cool. I mean, he's done some good things, and some of the things that he's doing is leading to opportunities for us. He's accepted the challenge. He's done a great job.
Besides Cameron, will guys like Dante, Trey Turner, you think they should be on schedule after the bye?
Well, we'll see. I mean, again, we're expecting the guys to do their rehab, to have a rehab plan for that break, and then come back and we'll evaluate everybody on Monday.
The bye is more of a time to sort of reinforce some of the fundamentals, or do you use it as a time to continue forwarding things?
We're going to reinforce a lot of things. We're going to go back and talking with Eric, Norv, and Chase, look at the things that we've done, look at the things that we like and try and work to improve those, look at things that we don't like and get rid of, and then improve things that we do feel that we like but haven't been successful. There are some things that we're going to look at in terms of upcoming opponents. We're not going to get too far ahead, but we'll probably look at the next two opponents just to be sure as we start getting ready. I mean, we got a few extra days to do that, so it'll be good in terms of we'll be able to get a lot done because for the most part the players will be gone after tomorrow afternoon, and so we can finish up a couple of good days of work before we get the weekend.
Ron, you've had a number of guys step up in the face of injuries. Kyle at quarterback, obviously Vernon, Dennis have been mentioned, Ross Cockrell. Did you come into the season feeling that this team had strong depth and that if you had to dip into it, you'd be able to? Going
into this season, I think one of the things that we talked about, Max, was making sure our depth was good enough, and especially in light of what happened last year and things that we went through. And I know I had referred to what happened with our offensive line as a position catastrophe, but we went into it knowing that coming out of training camp, we had to have at least 9 offensive linemen we felt good about. That's why we drafted the 2 young offensive linemen. That's why we signed as many of the offensive linemen that we could get from that league that folded. We signed a whole bunch of those guys because they'd already been trained, and a couple of them we liked a lot. A couple of them still are with us. Unfortunately, they're injured, and we'll have them back for next year. But we did those things consciously. The other position we really thought about was the defensive back position, whether it be corner, nickel, or safety, and we wanted to have depth there as well. The big plus was getting a healthy Ross Cockrell back. And then finally, Elliott has been another guy that's really kind of stepped into that role. And they have position flexibility. They both can play corner. They can both play nickel. And Ross can even play safety if we had to. So having those kind of guys, ensuring that kind of depth, we ended up having to go into the game with only 7 DBs. And everybody kept saying, well, what happens if this happens? Well, we got to move guys around. But we feel good enough with guys that have that kind of flexibility that they could do those things. We put Dante down at the last second just because, we just felt that with the conditions, the weather the way it was, we didn't want to have him get out there. He was still feeling a little tight, so we just backed off. But we felt good enough about those 7 guys. We feel good enough about our young linebacker core that if we had to move guys around, we could.
Hey, Ron, have you had a chance to speak with Shaq Thompson? How's he doing, and will he have some time this week?
Yeah, we found out, the unfortunate news right after the game, and, we talked to Shaq and excused him for the week and told him he need take care of his family business and just, whatever he needs, and told him his family's in our thoughts and prayers. And so I know that he's back in California right now taking care of his business.
Right, back to the idea of what you're looking to do this week and throw things out, the self-evaluation. As you go into the self-evaluation time this week, do you have an idea of what you think you'll see when you look at tape and that sort of thing? And how do you just kind of put your, assumptions aside when the tape starts to talk?
Well, you're really going to let the tape talk. I mean, because you can go into assuming all you want, but you are what you are on tape. I mean, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. So when we do the self-scout stuff, we will look at things, and as we see them, positive or negative, we'll make decisions on those things. But I'm pretty excited about the opportunity to take a breath, look at what we've done, look at what we can do, correct those things, improve on some other things, and just keep going forward. I mean, we're in a really good spot, and I think it's a big reason why I want to just stay focused on where we are.
What do you think you will see as you look at that tape?
That we can get better, that we can play better football. I mean, if you look at the victories we've had some really good, lead ups into the fourth quarter, and we've kind of, and we've got to be consistent. Really, really, really good teams, they can still make things happen in the fourth, and we've got to be better.
Ron, how do you feel like Joey responded in the kicking game yesterday?
Well, I think Joey's responded very well. I mean, coming back from the previous week and then, kicking the way he did yesterday. I know he did miss the one, and again, I keep looking at these angles. I must be cross-eyed or something, but that looked like that went right over the top of it, on the inside portion of it, But again, that's not my call. I'm not making the judgment call. But I do have an angle, and I just kind of went, wow, that looked close.
Has Greg cleared the protocol yet?
Greg's still in the protocol, Joe, and but he's having a pretty normal day. Hopefully he'll continue that, and then we'll move. But there's really nothing else to tell you where he is or anything like that. But I know he's still in it.
Given the injury situation where you had so many guys during the week did not practice, did not participate, as you go into the bye week now, what I guess the overarching thought about how guys are going to be viewed coming out of the bye week? I know you can't say anything how they're doing that.
Right,
sort of thing,
but coming out of the bye week, we won't really know till we get a chance to work with them on Monday. We're going to bring them in and get an opportunity for them to stretch and work a little bit with the training staff and the strength conditioning, and just kind of see where everybody is, and we'll make an evaluation from there. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.